Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another season of Keep Your Torch Lit podcast.
Woo!
I am Sam.
I am Sarah X.
And I am Jack T.
Whoa.
Wow. It is so great to be talking to you guys again, I have to say.
I know. Like, I have missed you guys so much. We're literally spread out through the entire U.S. right now. Like, Sam, where are you right now? You're literally all over the place.
I travel a lot, but believe it or not, I am sitting on the porch of my apartment right here in Ann Arbor looking over the beautiful big house.
Whoa, okay. What about you, Jack?
Yeah, I'm still in Kansas City. I'm looking out of the window to beautiful downtown Kansas City.
I'm all the way in the West Coast, in San Francisco. I'm looking out my window. I see palm trees. It's still sunny. It's great. I'm a Cali girl now.
Wow. Yeah, so how have you guys been staying sane during quarantine?
Yeah, well, I live with 40 other people, so we've been thriving, having a good time. I don't know about you guys. I would have been dying if I had one roommate.
Yeah, that's where I've been. Yeah, just me and Kat. But no, it's been all right. And Mitski, of course.
Don't forget Mitski, of course.
Yeah. So we have two roommates. It's fine.
Mitski is Jack's cat, by the way.
Yes. Not my cat Mitski, not my cat Mister, and then my girlfriend Kat.
Oh, Mister.
The last time that we recorded this podcast was probably December of 2019, right? It's been a solid 6 months at least since then. 7 months.
Oh my god.
Yeah, coronavirus is just a little thing on the New York Times 10th page or something there's this weird virus happening in China,
Yeah. I graduated college, so joined Jack and Sarah and the old graduated person crew.
Yeah, you got out right in time.
I did get out right in time. I've been working the last 6 months. I've been working as a deployment engineer for Amazon. So part of my job is traveling all over the place. So for quarantine, I've been in all these different cities throughout the U.S., living in hotels, pretty much doing this editing and storyboarding for season 3 and season 4. So I spent many, many hours in the last 6 months poring over these episodes in my hotel rooms, and it was boring but fun. So glad that it's finally out there. I'm back here with my buds Jack and Sarah. It's nice to join you guys in adulthood here.
Now we're just talking about these college kids. It's a little creepy, but you know what?
Yeah, and judging their every move, man, back when I was in college, I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, so I feel isn't it weird not watching ourselves? We're watching all these new people now and talking about it.
I know.
But in this episode, at least, we still do make some appearances, right? In that first challenge. And then when everybody's coming and starting to meet up with each other, all three of us get into the frame a few times.
Oh, yeah. Wow. I saw myself. Guys, we just can't really get rid of the spotlight.
Yeah, we can't give it up.
The ego is still there. We were looking for ourselves. We weren't really paying attention to the actual show. But,
Yeah. So we're all three of us and everybody else from season 2 and season 1, we're all really hyped, especially us. We had just finished the season, which, we all had absolute blast playing, and of course we wanted to keep it going. And we all definitely want to be part of production. Sarah, you already graduated, right?
Yeah, I graduated, but I still wanted to be part of all the group me's and the chats. So we filled out this really competitive Google form to be on production. I think the acceptance rate was 100%.
Probably more 110%. We might have brought in some extra people. I think we got Jack's girlfriend Kat came in.
Yeah.
Lucy's roommate Tate came in. We even recruited a few extras, but yes.
No, I just remember being so into every single piece of the process because this was our first time seeing it from the other side, the production side. Mm-hmm. And so even just casting and reading everyone's applications and ranking them, that was so fun to me.
Oh yeah, I love it. So should we get started with talking about how the idea of the whole theme of the season came to be? I think we talked about it, maybe hinted at it a little bit on a podcast last time, maybe the finale episode. But yeah. So where did Maized and Confused come from, guys?
Yeah. Who thought of that again? Was
it Matthew?
I will say Matthew's idea. It was Matthew's idea to do a season based off of twists.
Mm-hmm. Surprise!
It was.
So
Drum roll.
A certain Scrappy something.
Tate?
It was Lucy, guys.
Oh, of course.
Oh, that was going to be my next guess after Tate.
We were just all throwing out ideas, and she threw out a bunch, and Maized and Confused was one of them. And we really like our puns, so.
Yeah. I remember that first day that we started filming, it was like the first time a lot of us had seen each other since like season 2 had ended. So I remember it was like kind of a cool reunion. We were all kind of just like in our own little circle as these contestants are like coming in. Brittany showed up.
Yeah. There's a few different faces you can see in the background.
All these faces.
During the casting process, we all kind of have our opinions formed about some of these people, and we kind of had video interviews, and I just remember we were all on Chloe's video interview, right?
That was like the 3 of us.
Yeah, 3 of us.
No, Maggie
was there too.
Oh yeah. Cupcake, yeah.
And we were like, I don't know if it's because we were all on the call, but we were like obsessed with her because she was wearing like a buff during the call. And afterwards we were like, she's so cool. Like, she's going to win. That was our first impression.
Wasn't it like a villains buff? Like a Heroes vs. Villains buff? Was that what it was?
Yeah, I think it was something like that.
Or maybe like the Merge tribe from Heroes Villains. Yeah, it was something like that. And she talked about like being like a cheerleader and like
Beyonce or something.
Yeah.
Just like how she was like not afraid to be the villain or something like that. We were just like, yes.
Yes, that's what we want to hear.
Yeah.
Oh, and then fun fact about Cassie. So Cassie actually went to Pioneer, which was, you know, the notorious high school that Leia, Maggie, myself went to as well. So
and Mallory. Don't forget
Mallory. Sorry,
the winner of season 2. One of our 2 winners. Yes.
So we were like, we got to cast another Pioneer because Pioneer seems to produce some characters. So yeah, we were excited about that as well.
I remember Austin's interview. He like reminded me of like a pirate kind of, because he talked about like having a samurai sword, and he was just like talk about how big of a fan he was. And I thought he was just like, you know, he definitely was like one of the people that kind of brought the diversity to the cast. And like, I remember that being one of the interviews that really stuck out to me also at the time.
He definitely has kind of like he has a very unique energy that I feel like there wasn't really like, okay, there's obviously like super fans and stuff in the first 2 seasons, but like I feel like nobody who was like had on like the Cochrane, I think I've seen people compare him to kind of like the what's his name, like the Jacob guy who went out.
Yeah, Jacob Derwin.
Like, that's what that kind of like just, you know, lovable nerdy survivor energy, which I think a lot of us definitely like fell in love with early.
Was Jacob the one that looked in the rice?
Yeah.
Didn't he like pour it into a sock?
That's like all I remember.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I did an interview for Will. He's like, as you saw, a 26-year-old aerospace PhD student. I remember in that interview, he started to like talk about all this really like intelligent stuff that I didn't really understand. He was like, you know, back when I was, you know, I had this really big, you know, life discovery, this moment in my life, and I was about 22 years old, and I realized all this stuff, and I'm just thinking like, dude, like I'm not even 22 yet. Like you're talking like this like old grandpa, like, oh, I remember back in the day when I was 22, and I learned these big life lessons, and I was just like, this guy is just so different than anything we've ever had. You know, I think until then, the oldest person we had was a senior, and Mike and Liz and Tarowski and all these people. Sarah, Maggie, and now all of a sudden we have this guy that's like 4 years removed from being a senior. I remember that being like something really interesting during the casting process too.
Yeah, so let's jump into it then.
Oh yeah.
We get there. Ben's the first one to show up, along with Brady. I just want to say Ben has a really good confessionals.
Yeah.
He has like some really good one-liners for sure.
Oh yeah, he's definitely a natural, and I feel like he has like the best quality camera of everybody on the cast. Like all of his confessionals look really good.
It's like a professional camera on a tripod with like ring lights.
Very fancy.
Yeah, Ben is definitely preparing for like a reality TV career. Yeah. Like he's BFA acting, right?
Fun fact: he interned for casting with CBS.
Yeah,
he's gonna make it big someday. I think.
Real deal.
But yeah, him and Brady are the first ones.
Oh, and can we talk about Brady too for a second? Like, I feel like speaking of like, the Pioneer, legacy, Brady went to my high school. He was a few years younger than me, and I kind of knew him. Like, I feel like one of like maybe he had like a brother in my sister's grade or something. I don't know, but yeah, I definitely kind of like knew of him, and then I remember seeing his name on the list. I'm like, oh, Brady Ose, okay. And yeah, and he definitely had a really like charming interview too. I remember he's just one of those like. I feel like kind of like smooth talking guy. I don't know.
When I first saw his picture, I thought he was like super douchey, just based on the picture. but that's not what he's like at all.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes he kind of
yeah.
like rides the line of the douchey energy, but for the most part, he's a good guy.
Brady's great.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's see if he lives up to maybe the East Grand Rapids legacy can start to challenge the Pioneer legacy.
Those two are the first two to show up. You know, they shook hands and like, you know, they had no prior connection to each other. It's not like, you know, a lot of these cross-tribe alliances you see in like other college Survivor seasons are due to people kind of like knowing each other beforehand. But I think it's really interesting, kind of like the one with Mike and Sarah last season, where like these people had no connection beforehand. They just like shook hands. They're like, hey, let's just be in an alliance. Like, just because we both had a good impression of each other in the first few moments of the game.
We were really curious how the Emilys would react to there being other Emilys as well.
The battle of the Emilys. Send us in the comments which Emily you think is going to last the other two. Which Emily will outlast the other two Emilys.
Yeah. I feel like having the name Emily, you have to be like used to that at this point. Just having other Emilys in the room with you. But it's funny, they're all pretty different, I think.
Oh, definitely.
Emily Levy.
The meme queen, Emily Levy.
Yes.
Yeah, she's the one with like the blue streaks. She was on Tafiti, and then Emily Paddock, which was on Tormenta. They were all on different tribes too, which was funny. And Emily Bachwick,
yes.
Yeah. I thought it was Batchwitch for so long.
Oh no,
Bachwick.
Yes, Lorax.
Who was
Emily.
on Sabu Sabu? Yeah.
There's Lorax Emily. There's Meme Emily, and there's Let's Make a Deal Emily.
Yeah. Survivor Buffalo Emily. You know.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. There's another Survivor, for those who don't know, kind of like live action games that take place in Buffalo, New York, that Emily Paddock has played.
And then Cooper, you know, he's back. He's improved. He's been working on his hosting skills in the mirror over the summer.
His very wet hair.
Yeah.
His arm motions are bigger than ever, but he's ready. And he tells them that there's the first twist of the season, which is to break up into trios by themselves. What did you guys think about that?
Well, I would say this is something maybe we can touch on later when we talk about the three tribes. But something I thought was really interesting about this was kind of like the schoolyard pick quality of it, where like people kind of separated into trios of alike people. I'm not a tried and true thing for every trio, but I think to some extent that people kind of grouped together with people they were more similar to. And I think that's what kind of led itself to like the three tribes having very distinct personalities, which I think is really interesting. Like you saw kind of these like, you know, more athletic people and like Brady, Dylan, and Cassie end up becoming a trio. You kind of see Will, Ben, and Emily form a trio of kind of like these brainy super fan people who end up like forming an alliance early on in the game, creating these kind of three distinct personalities for the tribes.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And it's definitely an interesting twist on like kind of like the normal schoolyard pick, like we've seen, you know, in a lot of Survivor seasons, you know, like Palau and, you know, a bunch of others that start off with kind of like making the tribes based on that, where it's like not just like kind of one person deciding or maybe, you know, going one by one, each person just choosing one. It's like you kind of have to like gravitate towards somebody that you barely know at all. And just like kind of like, hey, you and you. It's not just you picking one or one person picking one. It's just kind of like, yeah, us three, okay. So
yeah.
Like, I feel like it like kind of like removes the power from maybe one person and kind of just puts everybody into this awkward scenario of having to reach out to people. I remember us on production, we're kind of like secretly hoping that like the three Emilys,
yeah,
would be like a little three group, but. Yeah, that also might have been too confusing. So yeah, and it worked out that all three of them are in different tribes, right?
Yeah, that was completely random. I remember thinking immediately, we were all kind of like, whoa, these tribes are kind of like brain, brawn, and beauty.
Yeah. Or even just like brawn / beauty, and then brains, and then like super fans.
So Tafiti, which was Dylan, you know, tall guy with the Splice Confessionals, Brady, douchebag. I mean, I don't know how to describe him.
Yeah, Brady, he's the douchebag.
Douchebag-looking guy. Cassie and Chloe, Emily Levy, and was that it? Oh, Sarah Menace.
Yeah.
Yes.
We thought they were kind of like the beauty / brawn tribe, although it does appear that Levy seems a little bit out of place on that tribe right off the bat. I think she would have fit in more with Savu Savu. I don't know, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I really felt bad for Emily in this episode. She kind of got ragged on a bit. I don't know, like, if it was... I know a lot of things are kind of based off of first impressions, and, like, she had, like... I don't know, I think it showed, like, some jokes she had that just didn't really go over well. And some people... I think Chloe was, like, calling her awkward. And so, like, I don't know, I felt a little bit bad for Emily. Maybe she would have put off a better first impression, like you said, if she was on a different tribe. Savu Savu was one of the other tribes in Orange. We saw Austin name this tribe after the Savu Savu island that they're filming Australian Survivor on in Fiji.
Yeah. So how do you think? How do you guys feel about that? You kind of talked about like maybe wanting to downplay your Survivor knowledge, and then instantly it's like, hey, this is the name of the beach that not Survivor, like CBS Survivor, but like Australian Survivor is filming on right now. Like, is that a good move?
I think he just got super excited in the moment. He didn't want his tribe to be named something like Ohana. So he was
or Cerulean, God forbid. That'd be terrible.
So he needed to, you know, Savu Savu was a pretty dope name.
I like it a lot.
I mean, according to the Rob Sister Nuno tribe rankings, you can't say the same word twice, but
I'll give it a pass.
Yeah, you can give it a pass. Good a pass. No, actually, I actually really like the tribe names, but yeah, I think that like honestly though, if that was probably a good tribe for him to reveal that he's a super fan on, because it seems like most of the people on this tribe are also super fans. Like Eliza had that confessional where she was like, one of my fears is like that Survivor will end. Like it's like an irrational fear that I have. And she was like, I just have dreamt of being on Survivor, and I'm like, you know, that's kind of the speakings of someone that is definitely a super fan.
I think Eliza's. Well, I mean, we'll definitely talk more about her later, but I think she's definitely one of the stars of this first episode. I saw a lot of people on like YouTube comments and Twitter and stuff like really saying how they liked Eliza.
Yeah, I think she just has a very likable personality, and she seems to be very savvy in the game. Like she's not somebody who's gonna cause a lot of drama right off the bat, and she's someone who I think a lot of people will trust.
Definitely.
Yeah, like how with the idol clue that she got, she was very quickly able to like figure out what it was talking about, where she like, you know, she was just like, oh yeah, when it said gods, I was thinking it was like older gods, whereas everyone was like going to churches. She like her mind just like thought differently, so it definitely kind of showed that she definitely has the brains for the game.
Yeah, so this is the fastest idol find in Survivor mission history, right? Up to this date.
Oh yeah.
Like, I always like try to think of myself as the idol god, but like, you know, it took me weeks to find one. You know, she found it same day, right?
Yeah, she found it same day.
Then Andrew.
I feel like Crouch, no offense, Crouch, I love him. I feel like he kind of has more of the douchey energy.
Oh, you're right. He has more of the Ross energy.
Definitely.
You know, like as long as I keep my ego out of the way, I think
I thought it was so funny that somebody thought that he was Tarowski at first glance. I think because he was on the porch confessional and his legs were like out. So it was like Tarowski vibes.
Looking out for Crouch legs?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, Crouch does have some very strong legs.
Yeah.
Someone in the comments said that like Crouch reminded them of Chris LeCompte and Chris Thomas from Survivor Maryland.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then I remember, and Crouch was like, yeah, like those two people were like some of the inspiration I had, like were actually applying. Like, so I definitely can see kind of like a Chris LeCompte kind of like energy to Andrew Crouch, like someone who's definitely like, he says he wants to like win challenges, you know, he wants to develop all kinds of relationships, kind of like be a big presence right away. I think that's definitely something interesting to look for.
Devin didn't get too much screen time.
I feel like Devin is kind of like the chill one of this group, or kind of like, you know, in comedy, like there's like the idea of like, you know, like there's the straight man, and then like there's like the crazy person that they kind of like bounce off each other. Like he seems to be kind of like the straight man of like this tribe. Like, you know, Austin's huge super fan, Crouch like going off buying fake idols and talking about his ego. Eliza also big super fan, and then like Devin's just kind of like this really chill guy.
Yeah, one of the things about Devin, unfortunately, I think he just didn't film like one of the intro videos that kind of like introduced himself. But I remember from the application process, he was somebody that like he's also, you know, a big super fan, like the rest of the people in his tribe. Like he had applied multiple times to get on the season. I think he applied either for season 1 and 2, or just 2. I know for sure he applied for season 2. Like he was applying again. He really wanted to play. Really had a set strategy from the very beginning. And he like mentioned that in his interview. So like this guy like definitely knows what he was doing.
Yeah, definitely.
And then there's also Emily Backwick, which we talked about with the Lorax. And
yes, Emily B. She didn't know a lot about Survivor going in, but somebody that's very, very intelligent. So somebody that's definitely a fast learner. Although she did think that Lorax was an idol, so that's kind of showing a little bit of inexperience. But I mean, you know.
Yeah, it's creative. It's outside the box. Like, who knows? Maybe, you know, I'd rather have somebody trying to, like, find the idol and pick up weird things than somebody who doesn't give a shit,
Yeah, she's not the first person to pick up some random item and think that it was an idol.
Exactly. I think it's actually really intelligent. A sign of really intelligence of somebody to do that.
And then we have Tormenta, which is the green tribe. This tribe is just all over the place, and I love it. We have Ben, reality TV star. We have Will, grandpa. We have Jessie, the freshman rower.
She said her first day of Survivor was before her first day of class, so that's
crazy.
Jumping right into it.
Yeah, your college experience begins with Survivor Michigan. You haven't even gone to a class yet.
Yeah, I can't even imagine that. Like, not really knowing anybody, like just like chilling.
She's probably like, "Oh God, what did I get myself into?"
Who are the freshmen in this cast? It's her. It's Cassie.
Jessie.
Was Chloe a freshman? No, Chloe was.
No, Chloe was like a sophomore.
Yeah, I think it's just the two of them.
I don't think there were that many freshmen.
Yeah.
And then there's also Emily Paddock and Erin.
Erin. We haven't talked about Erin yet.
Yeah.
Erin is somebody who she came from the marching band. Somebody who's in the drum line. You can go up to the game and see her doing her awesome drum line performances. Erin is another person that's very big into the game. I really enjoyed seeing her. Well, we'll talk about the challenge in a second. But how she was not afraid of confrontation. That is something that's very true about Erin. And as you can see, her getting in Richard's face pretty justifiably. So another big personality for sure.
We start the challenge, and like most first challenges, it's like 3 parts. And it starts with like kind of a physical component where they're wheelbarrowing, which looks really painful, honestly. And then they have to do this thing where they pass the balls and the cups, and there's a lot of strategy going into that, like long throws versus short throws. Also, you guys may have noticed that we have the Dream Team footage, and I remember it was like Matthew and Jack doing it, and I was filming them.
I definitely love that partnership with Jack and Matthew's Dream Team. Pretty great.
But yeah, the challenge starts. I feel like Tafiti was behind at first.
Yeah, they were, but they got to the puzzle portion, and they really like whipped through it. Like, it was crazy fast. Like, I think Brady had a confessional kind of explaining his strategy, and he just like ripped through that thing. He's a very smart engineer, and he just knew how to do it, and that was that. He just blasted through the challenge. So pretty quickly, it went from Tafiti being in last place to like they won, and then it was kind of the rest of the challenges is Sabu Sabu versus Tormenta showdown.
In the meantime, Tormenta and Sabu Sabu are struggling with the puzzle, and Richard has decided that he wants to cause a little bit of interference. So he does the thing, like if you guys have seen Home Alone, where the mom's like trying to count how many kids there are, and then Buzz is being annoying and saying random numbers. That's like what Richard is doing. Yeah. And I just remember filming, and I was like, "Yes, this is gold!" Like, keep going.
Yeah. Like I remember, I think we did something. I think I remember doing something similar in season 2 on the wavy field thing, like kind of yelling things.
Oh,
but it was just it was just like a little bit. Like,
it was all of us at once.
Yeah,
so
but it wasn't for like 5, 6, 7 minutes, whatever. Like Richard kept doing it. Like it's like kind of like a funny little bit to do for a little bit, but like I feel like once you get into that 5-minute mark of just yelling numbers, it kind of starts to grate on people.
It's bad when you have a confessional from like every single person in the game. That's like I think Will's like, this guy Richard, he's just shouting numbers, and right away everyone's like, this guy is bad news.
And then I don't know if it was because Richard was being annoying, but then Emily P decides to ask Brady from Tafiti for help, and they agreed.
And I remember I was the one who caught this on camera, and I remember I don't think I uploaded it right away or something. You guys are like, does anybody have like footage of this? I'm like, oh yes, I think I actually got that. And like you can see kind of like Emily like look to the camera like while it was happening. I think that was probably because I just had like a huge like grin on my face, like, yes, this is amazing drama.
I know. It was great when Richard was just like causing a scene. Then it got even better when we had the drama of like, now we have 2 tribes like colluding, and it's like this is just like TV gold, like on day 1. Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I can't imagine a better first challenge than this one. Like you get to really already know a lot of the characters, I feel like, which is like the hallmark of a great first challenge. Is like you get to be absolutely. Oh yeah, there's that guy. Oh yeah, there's Emily P talking. Okay.
Yeah, I mean honestly, we have Emily P making this deal, which like she didn't consult her tribe. That's a pretty big, like, ballsy move to make. Day one, you just decide, like, I'm just going to get the other tribe to help us. Like, you just walk over to them.
Okay, so Tafiti gets to hand over an idol clue to somebody on Savu Savu because they got first, and they pick.
Well, yeah, and first Austin's like, no matter who gets it, like we're gonna all share it, right?
We're gonna share it, and yeah, Lisa's nice, so she shares it with everybody.
We saw Savu Savu leaving the challenge, and like kind of felt bad. I was the one filming this, where like Austin was literally like physically behind the rest of the tribe. Like it was literally not. It was like literally the depiction of like seeing the odd one out kind of on day one, where it was like there's 5 people walking in one line on the sidewalk. You know how people walk in the sidewalk? There's like not always enough room for everybody. There's literally 5 people in one line. Then like 3 feet further back, like Austin walking by himself. And then like I saw it, and he's just like, guys, like let me catch up. Like, come on, like I have short legs. And I was like, oh no, like poor Austin. Like,
well, I remember like during casting, I was such a big fan of Austin, and I wrote in my comments, I was like, I feel like he's either gonna be like first boot or make it really far, because I didn't know how he would like do socially. I remember being like really concerned for him this week, but then he kind of like redeemed himself after leaving first.
Yes, I do think that he did a good job of building connections. I will say that I think a lot more of the reason for Austin surviving was due to Richard kind of fumbling the hand that he had. But I will agree that like Austin, especially, like you kind of see in the episode, made a good relationship with Eliza. I think that really benefited him.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. Like, I definitely probably more weighted towards Richard blowing up. But I think if Austin like really didn't make an effort, I feel like people wouldn't really have a reason much to go on to Richard. Well, I guess they kind of did have a reason, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like people kind of, especially Eliza, like wanted to try to save Austin, and then Richard imploding kind of gave her that opportunity to start to really push for it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, she has a confessional where she's kind of like, yeah, like, I really like him, but I just don't know if, like, the whole tribe's going to vote him out, and I don't want to go against the whole group. So she's like, you can kind of already see, like, she's looking for an excuse to save him, but she's like, but I don't want to go against everybody. You know what I mean? We saw Crouch find his Captain Morgan on the ground.
Yeah.
We saw Emily B find her Lorax. We're getting all sorts of discovery.
Yeah, it was funny how they're all like, oh, Austin's going off and searching for the idol, when, like, literally, like, everybody, like, but Austin, it seems like, was searching for the idol.
Yeah.
So, let's move on to Tormenta here.
They have some interesting dynamics. So immediately, there's, like, a trio that kind of formed. And it was Ben, Will, and Emily. How did that happen again?
You know how we saw all of them at Espresso Royale, like, right after the challenge? And Emily's kind of, like, explained to them, like, hey, I made this, by the way, just so you know, I made this deal with Tafiti and with Brady, and that's why they helped us. So after that had happened, everybody left Espresso Royale, and the 3 of them kind of, like, stayed back. And, like, that's when they started filming. They're like, hey, we got to be a trio.
Okay.
I think that had already been established because those 3 had already been a trio at the initial twist where you had to find your 3. And pretty quickly, they decided to separate themselves from Aaron, who they viewed as, like, the other kind of, like, opposing force in the tribe, or kind of the other big threat in the tribe. Because they all knew the game. Jesse and Nicholas both did not know the game. Aaron was the only other person that kind of knew the game, but right away, I think that, like, Ben at his confessional is saying, like, Aaron made herself known very early. You know, Aaron has a pretty big personality. She kind of shown to them, all of them, that she was, like, someone that knew a lot about Survivor. And I think they were kind of threatened by that. And right away, they're like, we need an alliance, and we're not going to include Aaron in it.
That reminds me of when Aaron was teaching Nicholas, like, how to play Survivor. And I think Nicholas was like, our alliance is, like, helpful. And she was like, yes.
Yes. Oh, man. I love that Aaron and Nicholas partnership. I don't think we talked about Nicholas. We forgot to talk about him a second ago. So he was somebody that I knew from the summer, right after season 2, that summer of 2018. Me and him had studied abroad together, and he was just, like, the biggest personality out there. Very fun, very energetic, very happy. He's just loud and fun, and he's, you know, from Argentina, so he has kind of, like, you know, an accent, and he's kind of just, like, he's a very unique guy. So, you know, we all thought that he'd be really fun to have on the cast, even though he didn't know much about Survivor. Definitely is intelligent. He has an engineering physics degree. He graduated, like, in 2.5 years from college. He graduated early, and, like, has, like, an internship at, like, Google right now. He, like, worked for, like, Google and Apple and, like, all these different places. So very smart guy, very big personality, but does not know anything about Survivor. Anyways, so we have some interesting dynamics on Tormenta. We have Will kind of inviting Jesse into this alliance with them. And I think it's funny that, like, Jesse was like, I don't know anything about this game, but I kind of feel like they just want me in this alliance because they think that I'll just do whatever they say. Like, she seems very perceptive for somebody that, like, had just, is a freshman, hasn't even had their first day of college, doesn't know anything about Survivor, and she's already, I think some people were kind of comparing her to Mallory, which I thought was interesting.
And then we see our first cross-tribe alliances happening with Ben and Brady.
Yeah, so Brady had that confessional where he said, like, something about how he slipped his phone to, like, Ben at the end of the challenge, and Ben, like, gave him his contact info. It's this cool scene, like, the two of them, like, meet up, and what do they call their alliance again? Like, the Gay Straight Alliance. That's pretty funny.
They were talking about how they want Tormenta and Tafi to stick together, kind of, like, against Savu Savu. I think that's why they decided to work together. Like, they wanted to, like, lead their tribes against Savu Savu.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it just because of Richard, or just, like, I don't know?
Yeah.
I do have insider info on this.
Ooh.
We want to... Insider info from the video, stuff that, like, didn't have time to include in the edit and everything. But Brady actually had no idea about Richard shouting numbers. Like, there's just so much activity happening and so much, like, loudness and, like, all that stuff. Like, Brady, I think it was kind of shown where Ben was like, yeah, like, you hear Richard and, like, how he was, like, shouting, like, 27, blah, blah. And Brady's like, what? Like, I had no idea. Like, Brady actually had no idea about that. Like, he helped Emily because of the deal. Because Emily said that Tormenta would throw a challenge to Tafiti in the future. So that's the reason that Brady was like, okay.
Yeah, Brady was just, like, too in his zone. Like, he was in, like, the Avatar state. Like, just, like, numbers going all over in his mind, like, trying to figure out that puzzle. So, yeah, he was completely removed from the material world.
But Cassie didn't really like that Brady didn't consult them before helping Tormenta. We kind of saw, like, that trio form of Cassie, Brady, and Chloe. And Cassie, like, calls him out. She's like, yeah, like, that wasn't cool that you did that. Like, you should have talked to us.
I mean, that's kind of fair. That's a big thing, big decision to be making. Yeah, like, we were just talking about, like, Paddock doing that. Like, Brady also is part of it and accepting it without really talking to his tribe.
I don't know. I thought we saw kind of, like, Cassie and Chloe kind of, like, had this little, like, it's funny how it's funny how they kind of had, like, they're just sitting on this bed and kind of just, like, roasting everyone in their entire tribe, just, like, going through, like, one by one. Oh my
God, I loved that confessional because they were just both sitting on the bed. The wind was, like, blowing their hair, and they were just spitting, like, fire. It was so funny.
It's like, Dylan's so quiet. Like, he's so quiet. I don't know what he's thinking. He seems like a bit of a mystery on their tribe. Where he's like this, like, presence that's just, like, there. But he's, like, quiet and isn't saying much. He just kind of has little comments. Wow, that was something.
Can't believe she did that.
I can't believe he did that. Wow, that was pretty shitty.
Did he film any other confessionals that week?
He did not film any confessionals that week. So, you got to work with what you have. But Dylan's a funny guy. He's a very, very funny guy.
Yeah.
Sarah Minnis, we didn't see a ton from her in this episode, but I think that Chloe says she's sketchy. Chloe seems to think that everybody's kind of sketchy.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, fair when you're playing Survivor.
She's like, yeah, Sarah's kind of sketchy. Dylan's kind of quiet. Emily Levy is kind of awkward. And Cassie is a little bit strategic. I'm a little bit
Cassie's too smart. That's true.
She's
too
smart.
She doesn't like Cassie.
Yeah. But she did initiate a text thing with Brady. So I think that she's cool. I think she's okay with Brady.
Yeah.
So something I noticed about Nick was that his confessionals were always zoomed in, and it was like
127,
so close to his face.
Yeah.
127.
Excuse me.
Come on, Sam.
63.
We're trying to professional podcast here.
24.
Sam. Okay, seriously. Sarah has trying to make a point about Nicholas.
127.
Sam. Seriously.
I'm sorry, Jack. I'm not here to make friends.
Whoa!
When you play a sports game, you don't play to make friends. You play to win.
Hey, you guys know who else isn't here to make friends?
Who's that?
Richard!
Hey. Wow, I have
What's
up here.
What's up, Richard? How have you been since life happened,
Yeah. You mean quarantine or getting voted out of Survivor?
I mean, what's worse?
Yeah, which one's worse?
Honestly, quarantine. That's the right answer.
Because, as you know, we filmed this in 2018, but now we are going back to the future to 2020.
How has your life changed?
My life?
Have you made any more friends?
It wasn't very long for me. So it wasn't able to really change my life that much.
You said you were not here to make friends, but did you end up making some friends, Richard?
Not during the game. I made friends after, but that's just by the nature of how it works at college. You find people that you have similar interests to. Pretty much everyone like on the cast was hating on me, but after the game, it's all fine. Like I just kind of apologized.
Yeah. Wait, have you graduated?
No.
Oh, okay.
So are you entering your senior year right now?
And now I'm going into my senior year.
Dang, dude. They grow up so fast.
How was your semester online or half semester online?
It was horrible. I'm very bad at learning online. My method of learning is just to go to office hours and like get help if I don't know how to do something. So I spent a lot of like time on Zoom office hours, which is really not the same.
Right.
Yeah. So all of us oldies graduated before this all. So yeah, we don't really know what it was like. So
yeah, back in my day, we didn't use Zoom.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what that was.
Yeah, when you're on your Zoom lectures, do you ever like just shout out numbers to the class, try to get the teacher's attention?
No, I've learned my lesson. I don't do that anymore. It was just the one time too. Like I never did that before. It was that one time. I was like, you know what, this might be a good idea. Let's try it. It obviously wasn't, but that's results oriented thinking. For all we know, we could have won the challenge if Tormenta didn't help the Green Tribe. Yeah. I don't remember the names.
Richard, backing up, just what made you apply to Survivor Michigan?
So this might come as a surprise to everyone who watched and saw how great my strategy was. But I'm actually I was really into it. I'm actually much more into it now than I was then. Like back when I applied, I'd only seen like half the seasons. So I thought I was a huge fan, but then I met all these people like Austin, who's seen all the seasons like 50 times,
and knows the name of the beaches.
Recorded. Like not like oh, they recorded this in Australia. No, he knows like the name of the island.
Yeah. Oh, you think you're a fan, huh? Tell me the beach they filmed Survivor Australia season 4 on in 2018. Yeah, that's right. I didn't think so.
So my plan going in was to like kind of play stupid, which obviously worked. But I didn't realize that most of the people were going to be super fans, so the way to go isn't to play stupid going in, really.
You really were on the super fan tribe. You were kind of talking about this earlier, how there were a lot of people in your tribe that were very into Survivor.
Yeah, there was no like immediate odd one out who didn't really know how to play. An interesting fact that not many people would think watching the first episode was that like before the game, I was like my pregame strategy was to like lay low till the merge. How'd I do?
Actually, funny story actually about your going in pregame stuff. I remember when you put your application in, said on the thing, tell us a story about yourself is one of the questions we have on the application to try to like get the contestants to just see how they are at like telling stories, right? And you, instead of telling a story, linked a YouTube link. And the YouTube link was like something you had posted about like the story that had happened, and it was like literally a video on YouTube. And I remember like you were the first person to ever do this. And fun fact, game changing move. We now on our application say send in a video or tell a story, and you're the first person to ever do it. And, so I remember thinking that was like a big. You're definitely you're pretty funny in like your story on YouTube, and then we were just like, yeah, we got to cast this guy. You definitely were a very good person to cast because you came in right away and did not lay low as you said you would.
Yeah, so what were your first impressions of the other people who were on your tribe, if you remember?
On my tribe?
Yeah.
This is interesting. So the very first person who I like talked to was Emily B, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty much going around on my tribe like saying, all right, who's being like completely honest right now? I want to find the person who's not the super fan who's going to lie about stuff like off the bat, right? And so I'm like just kind of seeing like who's gonna tell the truth. And I asked Emily B like she's like, oh yeah, I'm watching this season right now. And I'm like, oh, what season? She's like, oh, season 3. I can't remember where it takes place. And that just seemed so fake immediately off the bat, because who watches season 3 like which is in Africa and doesn't know it takes place in Africa?
Yeah, I feel like that's like one of the most like the location is very important to that season.
Yeah. So immediately I'm like, oh, this person's lying their ass off, when in fact like she was telling the complete truth. So immediately I'm sketchy of her. Right? This is all gonna lead to me like also kind of lying, and they figure out about my lies. Okay. So then the next person I talked to was Eliza.
Eliza, yeah.
Eliza.
And Eliza, I trust her 100% in the very beginning. You don't see this in the episode, but after I talked to Emily and Eliza in the threesome meeting that we have or at the beginning of the game, I go off with Eliza and we have a little talk where I'm kind of saying like, oh, I don't know if I trust Emily because I tell her about the whole Africa thing, but I really trust you. And I'm hoping we can go far together. Like I'm getting good vibes. And then I actually don't talk to anyone for a day or two. I think the next person I talked to is Devin a few days later, which in hindsight was a bad move because I didn't really know how College Survivor worked, right? Because I hadn't ever seen a College Survivor season. I hadn't seen Survivor Michigan season 1 yet. Like that didn't come out when we played. So I didn't know how intense like my tribe was going to be about this. So I just assumed, I don't want to like call everyone first day, it's kind of weird. What if they get like bugged off? And this is after the challenge too, so I'm trying to like kind of lay low, but also I'm kind of frantic because I know that there should be a target on me unless they're really dumb. After the challenge, I'm kind of saying, literally right when the challenge ended, I'm telling myself, wow, that was the stupidest thing you could have ever done. Self-aware at this point that was the wrong move to do. Like it didn't come later, it was immediate. And so I said, I've gotta, and when you are in that position, it's you need to like come back up, so you kind of try to shake things around. But the weird thing was that my tribe didn't really care that I did that at the challenge, and the better thing to do wasn't to try to shake things up at all.
Oh yeah, that's one of the things I think I was, as a producer, really surprised about, was that nobody really seemed to care that you had set all those numbers. Like I was like, oh no, like, he was doing all this really big stuff for the challenge and they lost, like he's going to be instant first boot. And then right after the challenge, you kind of like established yourself pretty well on your tribe. Like you made that instant kind of trio with Emily and Eliza that we saw. Austin kind of seemed to pretty quickly be like the big target by everybody for first boot. So I remember as production, we were like really surprised that Richard was able to like get himself into a really good position right after. Like he just recovered very quickly from like what happened. So he went kind of from like this person that like had kind of created this scene at the first challenge to somebody that was in the middle between two different pairs.
Yeah, and here's my first mistake. Before I talk to Devin or Andrew, like been calling Eliza every night to just because how I said like I want to work with you, like I really trust you, like. I didn't know this because I didn't really know how Survivor Michigan was played. I didn't know people call people all the time. So what I should have done is I should have called Eliza every night to just do like, oh, what do we do today? Type thing. And I feel like if I did that, she would have totally trusted me and been on my side because I was trying to work with her. Like I wasn't lying about that.
So you would say that Eliza was definitely your closest ally during the game then?
The first few days. I'm going to get to that.
Okay.
At this point, like, I think, I'm kind of in a good spot. I think we're voting out Austin. But what if, like, I still did that horrible thing at the challenge? What if they're all still, like, conspiring to get me out, right? And in my conversation with Devin, I think he lied to me in that conversation. Like, he said he was going somewhere, but then he talked to Eliza, and Eliza told me something completely different, and I trusted Eliza at that point. So it wasn't, like, a big lie, but it was small enough that it made me kind of wary of Devin.
Yeah.
But not enough where like I didn't want to work with him. So at that point, like my bullshit detectors are up, and I'm just hoping that maybe everyone's like kind of lying to me because they want to get me out for what I did at the challenge. I gotta like kind of make sure what I'm doing is all right. So then next, I go talk to Austin. We have a chat. Like I'm still set on voting him out. So pretty much that entire conversation doesn't matter in the end because we talked about voting out Devin, and I told Devin that Austin wanted him out. And this is like day 3 or day 4. So at this point, I think everyone's talked to each other at this point. So I'm kind of the last person to talk to Devin, I think. Last person to talk to Andrew. Maybe Devin talks to Austin first. I'm not sure. So then I talked to Andrew later that day. And I actually really liked Andrew. Andrew's a very good social player. You don't see it. Like, he comes off as kind of a douche in the edit, but he's actually a very good person. I'm immediately getting good vibes. Andrew's also very good at like not saying anything, so he kind of doesn't give up any information.
Is he good at like getting information out of people?
Yeah, I'm also a big talker, so I trusted him to didn't mind saying what I thought. I said, "Oh, Devin seemed a little sus." And I told him what I felt, but I didn't know that he was like really close with Devin at that point. So he goes off and he tells Devin, which is kind of not cool. And so at some point, Andrew tells me the story about how he doesn't actually care about Survivor, like his roommate's really into it, so that's why he's playing. And then he also says that he might drop a class to play the game harder. And those two things don't add up at all.
I mean, we did see he is
Andrew have the meeting, right? And Andrew's the one who sets that up, right? I'm not the one who sets that up. So we have all of the meeting in Ross because Andrew's a Ross kid.
I feel like a lot of times those Ross kids, like the Crouch, the Mike, the like Tarowski type, like they kind of like seem like really douchey or whatever, but also like it seems like they're really good at getting like letting people like feel comfortable and like having people tell them a lot of information. Like I feel like that's kind of a running thing through all three seasons.
Classic network.
Yeah, it's networking.
Networking at its finest.
Yeah, and and Sarah Z, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, don't get us wrong. Like, you know, Andrew, what we were talking about Andrew is as a player and as we saw in the edit, like not as a person. Like, obviously, it's a very, very cool guy. He's a very nice guy in real life. In the edit, he does come off a little bit, douchey in the edit in some ways, but like, that is a really important point you said.
But he's like right. I mean, you saw what happened in the episode. He got his way in the end.
Oh, definitely. Another thing I wanted to mention about Crouch is that it was kind of interesting how, like, you say that, like, he was trying to give off the vibes to you that he didn't really care about the game, but like you obviously knew that he was. And he had a confession where he's like, I can't have anybody knowing how hard that I'm playing, you know. And he's literally buying these fake idols in like the first week of the game, and like, you know, immediately he lies to you guys, says he's going to CCRB. He's actually searching for idols. Like, this dude is playing hard, and like you knew that he was playing hard, which is another thing that he did not like or did not want out there, you know.
These people are saying I'm paranoid, but it's not true. I just notice what's going on, and no one believes me. So I tell Devin. I
think that's paranoia, but I think it's like a healthy paranoia. I think you want to have a healthy paranoia in Survivor.
You do.
Maybe, yeah. So I tell Devin, at this point, after the meeting with Devin and Andrew, Devin's fessed up to the lie he told me earlier. And so since, like, once you fess up, and it's like a little thing, I don't really care. So at this point, I trust Devin more than Andrew, because Andrew's... for some reason, I trust Andrew a lot, but I want to tell Devin, like, heads up, because Devin's coming off as though I don't care about the game really much either. So I want to tell Devin, heads up, Andrew's, like, gonna play really hard, just so you know. And I didn't know that Devin goes straight to Andrew and tells him I said that. So from that point, I kind of meant against me.
Well, he threw you under the bus immediately after that, which I think there just wasn't enough time to show everything. And at the same time, we also kind of in the edit, we don't want it to be too obvious what's going to happen. So you kind of had to leave some ambiguity in there. But like, he basically, I don't know if this is some insider info. Him and Devin got together. We kind of saw that meeting between the two of them where they're talking. And they call Eliza and Emily B and are just like, that's when Andrew decides, I'm just totally going to throw Richard under the bus. Like, because I know that you had never thrown Emily and Eliza under the bus to Andrew and Devin.
No,
they just completely lied. They made it up.
Yeah. Okay, here's another thing. I found out that Eliza was searching for the idol with Austin. And I didn't know it was like a fake idol hunt. So in my mind, I'm freaking out. Like, Eliza supposedly wants to be number one with me, you know? But she's also going on an idol hunt with Austin with me about it. And I learn about that. And I call her and I'm like, what are you doing? And I trust her less at that point. Maybe I should team up with these boys for one of the girls instead. But it's kind of just an offhand comment. And we decided at the meeting not to do that and go for Austin and have the majority, like, if we turn into a 5 next week. It wasn't that I didn't have reasons for what I did. It was just that what I did was wrong.
I would say that like logically following, you know, what had happened, like there were reasons for you to be sketched out by all the different people, but your mistake seemed to be more lying in the fact that you told all these different people that you were sketched out by. Like, you told Eliza you were sketched out by Emily. You told Andrew you were sketched out by Devin. You told Devin you were sketched out by Andrew. And you probably didn't expect them all to compare notes like that early.
Yeah, no, that's what I wasn't expecting that, because almost everything. This is the thing. If I was really as close with Eliza as I thought, and I was really as close with Andrew and as Devin as I thought, then they wouldn't have compared notes. But since they did, it screwed me over. And I think that's where you have to like be in constant contact with these people, which is really hard when you like have a life outside of the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's much easier. That's why I think I might be better at like actual Survivor, because you literally don't have anything else to do, so you can keep these relationships up. But it's a lot of work to do that, like in the context of a college semester.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you can't just see people like walking off into the woods. Like, it's all like undercover texting and calls.
Especially that first week is brutal, because, you know, eventually like you get to build more relationships with people, but you have to just kind of like trust that these relationships that have been, you know, for like 3 days are valid, and you have to make decisions based off of like if this person actually trusts you back and everything. So
that's another reason why I really, really wanted to win the first challenge. Like, this is the thing. My goal going into the first challenge was like win. And so that's why I did what I did. With the
any
numbers,
means necessary.
Thought, it's the way to win. I can help my tribe this way. But I wasn't thinking like next level. I was just like thinking basically at that point.
Right.
And so then when we lost, I feel like if we had won the challenge, it wouldn't have been as disastrous for me. Because I would have had time to not play frantically and just make these bonds with people without worrying about voting people out.
You think the first week paranoia kind of made you play a little bit too hard?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I definitely overplayed. I overplayed and underplayed. Like, I didn't talk to people enough, and when I did talk to people, I said too much in a way.
Well, yeah, because it's interesting, because if Austin had gone home, let's say in a scenario where you didn't tell Eliza, Andrew, and Devin that you were, you know, sketched out by like, you know, different people in the tribe, that Austin goes home and you see yourself next week or next time you go to tribal council sitting between two pairs and kind of in the middle. Yeah. So you were kind of you're trying to set yourself up into a good position.
Yeah, no, that's what I was doing. I was kind of like, which is in retrospect doesn't make any sense because it's a tribe of 5. So how good of a position can you set yourself up into when it's like the first tribal council anyway? Yeah,
that's tough. That's tough. We can move into tribal council here. So you get to tribal council. How does it feel walking up into that area? I think we can see that this is a new spot for tribal council. We're actually right behind Triangle Fraternity on Michigan's campus, where Kevin from season 2, that's his fraternity, and he allowed us to use their fire pit in the back for tribal council. So this is really cool.
Shouts out to Triangle.
Yeah, shout out to Triangle. Shout out to Kevin. Yeah. So how did it feel for that first tribal council? You're walking up, like it's at night. You see the torches and the fire, and there's a big fire. You see Cooper James looking all majestic with his Michigan shirt, standing there solemnly looking at you in the eye. How does it feel?
I know it comes off like that I'm really cocky, but in reality, what's going on is that all week I'm scared out of my mind because a lot of people's stories aren't adding up. They're all kind of acting sketchy, right? And I'm not sure if it's because they're all kind of teamed up against me, which they were, or if it's just because it's Survivor and people are sketchy all the time. And I haven't had enough time to like realize which one it is yet. And another thing was that the 5 of us without Austin were planning on meeting up that night right before to just solidify the vote. And we didn't meet up, which like kind of told me in my heart of hearts that like they had met up and were going to vote me out. I was going up thinking like, you know what? It's probably 50-50. I don't have the idol. I'm not about to look all over campus. I was going in pretty scared because I was not confident. I was pretty much 50-50. I was like, they're either lying to me or telling the truth, and I can't tell.
It's so hard the first week because you have no past tribals to go off of, so you really don't know how people are going to vote at all. There's like no history.
Yeah. And you don't know also your first tribal council, like you don't really know like, you know, what it feels like people are lying versus they're telling the truth. You go in there and thinking like, everybody could be lying to me or they could not be. Like I have no idea. Like I have nothing else to like, you know. I remember I'm going to my first tribal council. I was like, I could just be completely wrong right now. I'm like, I don't know. Like, what if I'm just going home and like you don't know. You don't know what to base it off of because there's no past experience.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's scary.
Like, I look back on it and I'm thinking, what could I have done differently to have that not happen? And obviously, I think if I just hadn't acted up with a challenge, I would have played the entire thing differently for the entire week. But maybe I wouldn't. Like, I don't know. So it's hard to know.
I'm really glad you did do that, though, because that made the challenge so much more interesting.
Yeah, great TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Cooper snuffs your torch. We see, sadly, that Richard is voted off 5-1 and is the first person voted off as far as Michigan, Maized and Confused. But I saw a lot of people in the comments saying, like, we had a live comments as the episode premiering, and a lot of people were saying stuff like, wow, like, say what you want about Richard, like, he was the perfect first boot. Like, you absolutely in that episode delivered on, like, every level. Like, we had you coming in with some of these classic confessionals about how, like, I'm not here to make friends, like, if you're playing a game, you don't play you don't play nice, you play to win, You're bringing a lot of entertainment to the episode, that was for sure.
Yeah. Oh, here's another thing. We can go back to the very beginning. I'm the type of person where I thrive when it's like a set kind of arena. And I was hoping, like, you know what, hopefully it'll be pretty basic and there won't be a lot of twists. And then I come in and it's like, oh yeah, the entire
Maized and
team of the season is Maized and Confused. And my jitter sensors in the first challenge were off the charts. I was like, I don't know if you look back at the episode, like the entire challenge, I'm kind of shaking a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
Because I like this so much, so I'm like not. My brain isn't working. It's pure adrenaline at that point, which contributed to me just doing the dumbest thing of all time.
I think you had a comment about, like, I was like seen smiling so much during the episode because I was just like so excited to be playing Survivor.
Aww.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who they might play for half the season and they haven't really done much, or they haven't like had many memorable moments. Like, there's been definitely times in, like, watch seasons of Survivor where that's happened with a contestant. But you're somebody where it was just like, you definitely made the most out of your time as far as bringing some good TV moments.
Yeah, it's too bad. I could have made some more in the future.
Yeah. Immediately after you got voted off, who were you rooting for to win at this point?
Oh, honestly, I wasn't really rooting for anyone. I had a lot of vengeful. That's not a word. Revengeful thoughts in my head. Like, obviously, like, they're all fine people. I don't hold grudges or whatever. But I didn't really sleep that night because I'm just thinking in my mind, like, what did I do wrong? Like, was it the challenge? Do they not like me as a person? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know until like whenever the game ends, because there's not a Ponderosa. So you don't really see these people. But I did.
You had like the Ponderosa chat, but yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't always help in the same way as like person-to-person interaction. I saw a few of them on campus. Like, I saw Devin and Andrew when I was working out one day, and I both told them, like, it's like I'm not angry. Like, they were like scared of me a little bit when they saw me. Yeah. They were like, "Oh, is this guy going to be like mad at us?" I wasn't. Like, I'm not mad at the people I played with. I was just mad at myself more.
Yeah.
Because I did make the mistakes that led to my demise.
Out of all the other players on your tribe, who did you want to see, like, lose next? Or, you know what I mean? Who are you rooting against the most?
Who am I rooting against?
Or who did you feel most, like, betrayed by?
That's the thing. I didn't feel betrayed by one person because, like, I just thought of it. At the time, I thought, oh, they probably were all against me from the start. Which obviously wasn't the case. Because in my mind, I was trying to crawl back up. I didn't realize that they didn't care about the challenge. Because if I had realized that, I would have done that. I would have just laid low and talked to people normally and not like a psycho.
That's the thing. It really is come down to the challenge thing that, like, it maybe psyched you out afterwards. But I don't know.
That's not the reason they voted me out, but that's the reason I had them vote me out.
That makes sense.
People make mistakes. Noah voted off season 2 was because he had because he literally wasn't that good enough at throwing the ball at the blocks apparently. So that was a much more minor challenge mistake that got somebody voted off. So it's not like it's so super out of the super crazy thing for you to like assume that they were going to vote you off after you did that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was thinking like it's like I'm not gonna win regardless because everyone's gonna hate me because of what I did in the first challenge. So I should just. I was almost like giving up like 10 minutes into the game because there's no way to win. But now that I look back, like I probably like I feel like I'm good at apologizing.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like a few weeks later, if there's a tribe swap, I'm probably okay. I feel like I'll just like say, "Oh, I'm sorry. Like that was totally my fault. I'm sorry, Green Tribe."
That was first week jitters.
Like at that deep in the game, I'm not gonna hold that grudge. You know?
Yeah, by then they probably, you're like, they might not. They probably don't care anymore.
There's like way more drama at that point, probably.
Yeah.
So my biggest, I think my biggest blunder was just focusing too much on the first blunder I made. And
that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really insightful that you thought about it.
Yeah. Like, what did you learn? Did you learn anything about yourself, or like 2 years later down the road, what do you think you got out of it?
Well, one, I need to calm down a bit more. That was one thing. Another thing, this is more game, but I was actually really close to Andrew, and I was really close to Eliza, but I wasn't close to Devin. In my mind, I wasn't close to Devin, Emily, or Austin. But I also had no idea that Eliza and Andrew were working together. And I would have totally been in on that, but since they never told me they were working together, I tried to pit them against each other, and that obviously didn't work. But it's too bad because it could have been a fun threesome, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I feel like I just didn't talk to people enough, about life.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if I actually made connections with people as opposed to just being like, we should vote this person out, they're a liar, it would have been much better for my game.
Yeah.
But it's weird because I didn't know how social this type of game is, because you're going into it like, oh, there's going to be a challenge once a week and then a tribal once a week, and you're going to do the rest on your own. Like, you don't really, there's not a social precedent set yet, so you have to set it yourself. And I feel like if I had set a different precedent, it would have been better.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's so easy in these meetings to just jump right into strategy, but it can be really helpful to just like set out some time to like talk about each other's lives and stuff.
Yeah. The more I like watch and talk and think about Survivor, the more I realize that like social is like by far the most important thing. Mm-hmm. Like you can have the best strategy in the world, but if you're not able to like connect with people, it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that's what literally, contributed to Mallory winning the game last season, was pretty much due to her social game. Mm-hmm. That was a really big factor in like what she brought to the table. And she did very little strategizing early on. So this comes to show that like in this game, yes, sometimes it pays off to just have a social game and lay low.
Yeah.
As much as it's not as fun to maybe not be as fun to watch on TV, it definitely is pretty effective.
Just saying, like, not even to say that your social gamer trip was like terrible. It's just that like
I was pretty bad.
I think but I think you were good at like making good connections, and getting people to not think about that first challenge. But then I think, your paranoia got the better of you, and you stopped focusing on the social part as much.
Oh, this is another thing. Lisa gave me the idol clue. And at the time, I'm thinking, there's no way anyone's going to find this idol with one clue on a campus this big. Maybe it's because I was a sophomore at the time, but I had no idea where this idol was. So I kind of just threw it away from my mind. And then when Andrew asked me if I had the clue, I told him no, because I literally never looked at it. And so I think Andrew got mad at me for not telling him that I had the clue, because Eliza told him I did. And that might have Devin and Andrew both were like playing up this idea of like they didn't really have any idea what was going on. They were kind of just like, oh, I'm not really into it, like I'm not really into this game. So by me telling them basic info, like I felt like it was better for me, and they wouldn't take it that way just because they didn't know how the game was, like the way that information works.
Yeah, I think that's a story of a lot of people's games in Survivor Michigan, is just underestimating other people being their downfall.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Including mine in season 2, yeah.
All right. It's been really great having you on and
great to talk to you.
Hearing about what's been going on in your life.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, Richard was the first Michigan Bachelor.
Whoa!
This is true. This is very recently, so I was much more matured. I wasn't smiling the entire time. I think there's a link on their Facebook page. I think it was for a school project that they made this, and it just kind of got like a lot more response than they thought. So they made it into this big thing. But I think originally for a school project, so I don't even know if they're working on it anymore, or if it's going to have a second season or anything.
Yeah, basically it's like Bachelor, like the show, but Richard was selected to be the first Bachelor. A lot of Survivor people helped him with his application, so that
including the Maggie
yeah.
Mac. Yeah. Can we, Can we tweet out a link? Are you okay with that? If Keep Your Torch Lit?
Oh yeah.
Post a link to that.
Yes.
Audition video because I think that's great. I'm sure we can find it somewhere. Yeah. Because that is I love that audition video so much. And definitely a little treat to the Keep Your Torch Lit fans.
All right. So first off, I do have a YouTube channel that I have like 5 episodes, and it's not like a thing I do regularly. It's just if I have an idea, I'll do it. It's just dumb. It's Late Night Rich Tips YouTube or whatever.
Cool.
Look it up. I have like no videos. It's like I think 10 videos maybe, probably less. I think it's more like it's 5 to 10 videos. I don't know. I just do it whenever I'm bored.
Oh, cool! That's awesome.
And then I also produce a TV show called Michigan Time, which is kind of a satire show about the University of Michigan. And we've done a few popular segments where we go to bars and stuff and ask questions to drunk people. St. Patrick's Day was a pretty popular segment we did.
Oh,
so
cool.
if you want to see me drunk people questions, Michigan Time on Facebook. Pretty fun stuff there if you want more of me. I think that's awesome. It.
Yeah, good to know for sure. We'll have to check it out.
All right, thanks for having me, guys. There's a method behind the madness.
Oh yeah, for
there
sure.
Is.
All right.
But I'm not here to make friends, so I'm gonna go.
You're not here to make friends.
Yeah, before we become too close of friends, dude, we're gonna need you to leave.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
And, I just wanna say, it wasn't shown, but in Tribal, when Crouch voted for Richard, he was like, "Plus, you have an android," and we thought that was so iconic when it happened. I don't know why it got cut. I personally think you guys should show the votes each time, even if it's like pretty obvious, just because I think the audience likes seeing it.
We can find that Andrew confessional and like release it. Maybe we can release that with the episode.
Yeah.
But just quick to eulogize it here. I definitely feel like Richard was able to get himself into a good position, but ultimately, like, I think the overplaying as far as shouting the numbers and then overplaying to correct that were both kind of end up being his downfall. So
he didn't realize that the challenge thing was actually not as big of a deal to his tribe. But yeah, I definitely don't regret casting him. I think he was a great first boot, a great character, and he did a lot in his short time on, and he'll always be remembered.
It's just such a great one episode arc. Like, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I just think he was great for the show.
So in terms of rankings, I feel like he probably was the best first week we've had so far in terms of entertainment. Well, where do you think he ranks in terms of like best players?
I still think Gallagher is number 1 in terms of actual player finesse.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I feel like Sarah made less mistakes in her time than Richard did.
Yeah, I feel like
it was
Richard actively he was in an all right place and then actively made it not an all right place. Whereas I feel like Sarah kind of, there's definitely things she could have done better and done more of, but I feel like more of it was kind of out of her control, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So let's go Richard versus Noah.
I think Richard definitely. I feel like Noah. Like we came out of the challenge wanting to vote Noah, and then we ended up voting Noah. Whereas here, Richard was in a good position. I feel like I give more to him for at least having the social ability to be in a good position, and then maybe the bad strategic ability to like get himself out of that good position. But like I value that good position more than Noah not really ever being in a good position.
That's true. Noah started bad and stayed bad. Whereas Richard started bad, did good, and then did bad, and then was bad again. So he at least was able to like have the initial recovery, even if he didn't know that he recovered. Or maybe it was as much of a recovery as much as like people just didn't care as much as he thought they did. But I definitely value the fact that he was able to get himself into a good position, whereas Noah just straight up left and just didn't talk to any of us.
Yeah.
Alrighty, that puts us at Emily G is 1, Richard
Emily
2,
G.
and Noah 3.
Sarah G.
Sarah G.
There's all these Sarahs.
I have season 6 on the mind. Yeah. Sarah G 1, Richard 2, Noah 3.
All right. It was so great talking to you guys again. I love talking Fire Michigan with you. We had such a fantastic first episode, and I honestly think this season only gets better from here. Don't you guys think?
Oh yeah, it's gonna get you mazed and confused. What can I say?
Well, all right, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, stay safe out there. Wear a mask.
We should get Survivor Michigan masks.
Yes. Oh my God. I would love that.
That'd be great.